Hello, my name is Pat Traffas. I'm a member of the Trails Head chapter of the Oregon-California Trails Association. This evening we're out at Lone Elm Campground. Lone Elm Campground is located in Johnson County, Kansas, and it's one of the most wonderful places on the whole trail. Something that I like to kind of think about this time is we're here actually in September, and it's a fairly quiet evening for September, and it would have been quiet in most Septembers back in the 1800s. But come April and May, this would have been a hustly, bustly place, clamoring with noise, because virtually everyone would have been leaving Independence and Westport at virtually the same time heading west. They would have been probably waiting until the grass was high enough to feed the livestock, and the rivers and spring rains had been so that they could cross easier the creeks and the rivers that they were going to encounter. And when you cross that line on the Independence route of the Oregon, California, and Santa Fe trails, they would have crossed right at 122nd and State Line Road. And you can imagine how they would all be pulling their wagons in here to the same time, reconnoitering, and putting up for probably a short night. You can imagine their excitement too at the beginning of their adventure to the west, some of them not knowing what they were going to encounter. And you know how excited you are when you leave on a road trip? I have to think that they were just that excited too. Wanted to visit with you, why does Lone Elm have its name, Lone Elm? Well, this was a huge grove of trees at one time, and certainly before trail days, there were innumerable trees in this area, just like we see here today, because they've been replanted or have grown back. But in trail days, what do we need when we camp? Well, we need grass for our livestock, we need water for man and beast, we need wood to build our fires. Where did the wood come from? Well, it came from the trees that were here. And you can imagine at that first and busiest campground, those trees were the first thing to go. And so really in a very few short years, there was only one tree, one lone elm standing here. And thus the name came, the name Lone Elm. Like we mentioned, Missouri was a state in 1821, but it took 40 years for Kansas to become a state. So when they did cross that state line, whether it was in the 1820s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, they were crossing into Indian territory. And so this area really did not even open up for settlement on the Kansas side until after the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854. So one of the first settlers to come and settle in this part of the state was Newton Ainsworth. His family had come from Ohio, and eventually Mr. Ainsworth came down and he was scouting out land where he could stake a claim. And early in the spring of 1857, he came to this very area. He liked the looks of it. Lots of trees, nice creek, which is Cedar Creek running right behind us. And he thought this would be a prime area. Also, there were already wagon trains coming and going through here, and he could kind of see that maybe there was some potential for business. But he just liked the looks of this place so much. So late in the fall of 1857, Mr. Ainsworth did come back out here. He bought some lumber and he erected a small domicile, 10 by 11 foot. That's not very many square foot. And with a dirt floor. And this is where he started setting up his home. Eventually, this area would become 160 acres that he would own. He would run some of the finest stock of cattle. He tells the stories of seeing wagon trains come in, sometimes by midday or so. They knew they were going to camp down here for the night before they crossed Cedar Creek and made their way on west in the morning. But then he would hear lots of hustling and bustling about midnight, and people were scurrying to be the first of the wagons out every day. That way you weren't eating each other's dust as you were traveling west over the same routes every day. So we hope you've enjoyed your time here at Lone Elm. As you can hear, there's other people out here enjoying that with us, especially in these times of the pandemic, when we're doing a lot of our touring and everything virtually. It's so good that we can get together and still see these places and these sites that we love. It's so important that we have parks and places like this set aside where children and families can still come and gather just like they did 175 years or more ago. And we hope that you'll come and join us here at Lone Elm Campground at the near future. So when our trails open back up again, please do come and join us here, and we'll look forward to seeing you further on down the trail.